welcome to Tom and Rob Chat, Season 2, Episode 1. That's what I decided to call it. Got to keep starting over. Now, the problem is all the audio and video technical problems that have been plaguing us are all worked out, but I have nothing to say, and this is going to be our most boring conversation ever. But it'll record perfectly. Because I didn't get to see the movie I thought I was going to see beforehand. I was so keyed up to go see it.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, I had to even run out of the writer's meeting before it was over to get all across town in traffic to be at the screening. But like the traffic parted, I hit every green light, got there just in time. I'm like, where is it? Your showing starts in 6 days, 23 hours, 14 minutes.
Oh, no.
It's next Monday. So I was so worried about forgetting to go to it that I remind myself. And that's in fact why I told you about it, because that's another way of reminding myself.
Sure.
Don't come home from the writer's meeting by habit. Get to that movie theater. I was a week off and I have to do it again. I have to remember for another entire week. Anyway, so that's too bad. And here's some fun news though. At the theater, I found one of these. A print version of The Onion is back again.
You don't see those anymore.
No, and I'd even been thinking, because The Onion's been in the news because of InfoWars.
Yep, that they're taking over InfoWars soon.
And I was thinking, boy, I used to read that. But, it was ephemera. I'd read it and I'd recycle it. And I don't think I saved a single print copy of The Onion from the old days. And that bothered me because, surely I saved so many dumb things. I couldn't save even one of those from way back when. Well, there are events in the world this week. And
yes, there are.
Conspiracy theories went from 0 to 100 before the event was even over. Took about 15 years for the JFK conspiracies to really kind of get going. We're already in it. I've decided I'm not taking any kind of position like, is it fake? Is it not? What we're talking about, of course, is the Correspondents dinner in 2026. In case you're watching this 5 years from now, it's late April 2026. And, they say shots were fired. I did hear a video where I heard a president was slowest to react. But I'm not sure who fired them. I don't know why the picture of the guy being apprehended, he doesn't have a shirt on.
I know.
You got just shirt off. It's from Galaxy Quest.
What was his name? Dr. No, I can't remember now.
No, you blown it out of my head. Just say Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman's character, yeah.
Like Grandpa's hammer. What a savings. So and I saw a nice video of everyone under the tables but Kash Patel just kind of sitting upright in his seat, looking around like this.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, well, he doesn't seem to be too panicked, and he also didn't feel like the need to duck under the table like everyone else. That's a little odd.
Well, the thing of it is that the apprehension took place one floor above them.
Yes.
And in the lobby. And I'm sure they had a perimeter around the stairs going down to the and around the. In other words, you're not going to get to the stairs or the elevators without going through their magnetometers and their perimeter. And this guy tried to bolt through, and guess what? He was caught. I mean,
yeah.
So it's like everybody's talking about how lax security. He said, no, that's how security works.
If someone bolts through you a perimeter and you down,
catch
hopefully
him,
with no one getting hurt.
That's successful. That's what's supposed to happen.
Right.
And so it's like people are making a big deal about it. And I actually heard people say how the folks on the podium showed courage. And I went, well, how hard is it to show courage when a guy didn't get within, 1,000 feet of you, 1,000 yards of you? So anyway, the whole thing is just
milking it.
It was blown out of proportion. It was just
it was a little. I mean, it is a thing. I mean, maybe in fact, the president himself being kind of blasé about it 30 minutes later is the most normal reaction one would have.
Well, and the weird thing is you see them standing around high-fiving and smiling as though it was a good thing for them. And I think probably, so, the conspiracy theory is that it was all staged to make him a martyr again.
Yeah.
But it might, that, assuming they could pull something like that off, that's a,
And keep it quiet.
yeah, the most competent administration in the last 50 years. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But
It's got the weird coincidences where Caroline Levitt was joking beforehand, like, shots are going to be fired. He's really going to rise and zing you.
yeah, so but I really thought that they thought, oh, it's going to be another Butler. We'll get all this
Hey, we can
good
fundraise.
publicity out of and fundraising and get a lot of good publicity out of it, and nobody gave a crap.
Yeah.
It's just that
It already
that ship
feels
has
like
already
it's fading
sailed.
away, which is
I
weird.
know.
It really does. I mean, yesterday was kind of still percolating, but now I'm like, oh yeah, what else is on? It's
Well,
very
well, and the fact of the matter is, as someone pointed out, I forget who it was. They said, in the Obama administration, there were 15 such events where someone tried to get through the outer cordon.
yeah, or climb the fence or something.
Remember that? There was a guy who climbed the White House fence. And people, they noted it, but the security worked as even that when they said, well, they should have caught him, two areas behind him. He should have never gotten over that fence. Yeah, but on the other hand, it's a long way. If you've ever been to DC, it's a long way from that wrought iron fence to the White House.
That's why they put the fence there.
So, yeah, it's just like, I mean, this shit happens, and it happens a lot, and nobody mentioned it the 15 times
Yeah.
it happened during the 8 years of the Obama administration.
Well, we've got now an internet full of total amateurs.
That's the
Half of
difference.
whom believe in flat Earth theory, all suddenly thinking they're experts.
Yeah.
And
influencers think they know what they're talking about.
they seem to, but they forget that they only know what they're paid to say. That's why they're an influencer.
Yeah.
I think there's another word that job used to be called, but they call it influencers now. The fact that there's young kids aspiring to be influencers.
Oh, I know. My own nephew said, I want to be a YouTube personality.
Oh,
and that's what I want to be my job. And I went, okay, well, we'll talk a little later.
Well,
anyway,
I have a podcast. Have you seen it? Your old Uncle Tom has a good show. I don't mean Uncle Tom like Harriet Beecher. I mean, you're just
actual Uncle Tom. Yeah,
Uncle Thomas.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, it's just the leaps and lack of logic. Well, this proves why we need the secure ballroom. And I went, no, it doesn't. This event's never going to be in the president on the White House grounds. The whole point of it is to invite the president to their home field and to celebrate the First Amendment, the press, the freedom of the press.
Yeah.
So it's never going to be in that secure little locale anyway. So to say that this is why you need it is like, no, for two reasons. A, what I said before, the security worked.
Right.
It worked. And B, you're never going to have an event like this in that ballroom.
Yeah.
So, but and the thing is, they were trying to push that so hard, and it fell flat. I think they're very annoyed that it didn't ignite.
Yeah, I mean, they even had,
like they was hoping it would.
You could see aggregations of MAGA tweeters in sync. Ballroom.
Oh yeah.
Ballroom.
It was
it's like
definitely,
there really is a place that they all log into and like, here's what you say today, and they all go do it.
Well, I remember Overman said that back when he was dating oh God, now I've forgotten her name.
Laura
She's
Ingraham.
thank you, Laura Ingraham. I was trying to think what
Oh,
slot does she
the
have? The
Fox News one.
9
Okay.
p.m. slot. Yeah.
Okay.
So Laura Ingraham. And she said, yeah, they would back in those days fax each other the talking points of the day and how you would spin things for the press. They were doing it back then.
Right. So this
And
has evolved over technology to still be the
mhm,
same. And of course they assume there's something similar on the other side. And I still think there's enough
yes,
coordination to
there
actually
isn't.
have that. It's just like people thinking and coming up with their own conclusions in kind of uncongealed mass. Sometimes they agree and sometimes they don't. Um, there's just something
Yeah,
we
the processes are totally different on the other side. On the other
they're
side,
just
people
different, but
actually think
that's
for
why they're always
themselves.
accusing the left of paying people to show up because they do that,
Right,
and having a secret plan because they've had a secret plan. All this
right.
stuff, I keep from running into histories of like where did the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society actually come from, kind of things. And it was, and there was another one that was tipped off. There was a interview with a guy who wrote a New Yorker article in 2010 when it was the height of the Tea Party, and Glenn Beck was a big guy,
All
and
right.
Obama
Yeah.
was still in office. And Glenn Beck says, "Okay, here's where all the evil progressives come from. It's all from Woodrow Wilson. Started the evil progressive era by the Federal Reserve, the income tax. It's just been a progressive nightmare ever since Woodrow Wilson and the League of Nations. And and of course, I immediately think, but Teddy Roosevelt ran against Woodrow Wilson on the Progressive Party platform that he invented. Teddy
Oh yeah.
Roosevelt
Teddy
was the
Roosevelt was the original
progressive one.
progressive. Yeah.
So it's this weird thing. And so this writer back then, 16 years ago, was like, well, this is a weird bunch of alternate history that's trying to demonize the left. And then, but he was being interviewed 16 years later on a podcast because the guy said, well, it's funny that article because everything you wrote in it that was so weird just came out of Clarence Thomas's mouth at a speech honoring the 250th of the
He
Declaration of
said the
Independence, and he
exact
said
same
Woodrow
thing.
Wilson and the
Yep.
whole schmear.
Yeah.
So that's in Clarence Thomas's brain, and it's like that's not a good place for that to be residing.
Clarence Thomas was on that fax ring. Back then they called them fax rings that you would if
Oh,
you had yes, it would you had it in your programmed in your fax machine. Okay, I'm gonna put this thing in, say scan, and then it goes out to all those people immediately.
and then he has a circle of like little minions and aides
Hmm.
that write
Hmm.
everything he writes because he doesn't do any thinking or writing himself. And
Right.
they now they have generational, like they've grown up and gone into the federal court system and all the other stuff and have new little ones that they're growing. It's a whole, they're very dedicated to doing this, and they have the tenacity to do these long-term decades to unfold plans.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there was one more
They're
video that
true
came up.
believers.
A guy in this that Nixon put on the Supreme Court, Powell,
Lewis
uh,
Powell. Yeah.
Lewis Powell, wrote a memo saying, I'm
Okay.
worried as a conservative, like the whole Barry Goldwater thing didn't work. Nixon's there, but we really are losing this nation to these evil progressives. So we need to change four things: the education system. We need a whole bunch of think tanks so that we could write policy papers so it seems all legit. Change the culture on campuses. Change the media. Get rid of the fairness doctrine. Really establish our own media. Maybe get rid of the limitation on buying more and more radio stations so that you can
Right.
own as
Yep.
many as you want. And then of course, change the Supreme Court and the federal courts and have a whole system where it's just we're filling all the courts. And in some sense, by then the politics will take care of themselves because we'll have everyone thinking differently. We'll shift everything, and people will just elect the right people to do all these things once we get it going. But it'll
Right.
take a while. And here we're living in it, wondering where did it all come from. And I actually, they had a photostat of the memo, and like he's laying it out. He wrote it down. He typed it
Yeah,
on a
he sure did.
typewriter,
And he sent it
and
out to everybody.
it was a solid plan because it worked. But how do you have 4 or 5 decades of people just doggedly following this plan and kind of keeping it a little quiet, except for the
Oh,
parts you want to publicize?
yeah, you had Paul Ehrlich working on the back before there was social media and stuff like that. I mean, he was famous for his direct mail program,
Oh, right.
his direct mail saying, "Oh my God, Jimmy Carter's giving away uh, the U.S. Panama Canal, giving it back to the people we stole it from way back then." And it's gonna, once he does that, then the Soviets and the communists are gonna take over and they're gonna lock us out of our own canal. And it's all this crap. I remember my mom in the 80s getting these mailers, and I said, "Mom, just throw these in the trash. They're nonsense. They're all lies." But she was, semi. She knew some of the stuff, but she didn't know all the stuff, and it seemed reasonable to her. And I'd have to talk her off the ledge all the time, and it was just like. But that was Paul Ehrlich's thing, and then you had, and he also was, but he also got involved in the evangelical church thing, but that was
Hmm.
under Jimmy Carter that they realized, oh, you really can't activate because they had been evangelicals had been politically uninterested, that they thought that was the devil's playground.
Right.
And
Because it kind of is.
and after Jimmy Carter had kind of activated the Southern Baptist Convention and other evangelicals into being interested in politics, they had to co-opt that and turn it right, and they did. I
And
mean,
they
with
did.
the moral majority, Harry Falwell, and him starting Liberty University about the same time, a little college in
Yeah.
Lynchburg, Virginia, and turned it into quite the. It's the biggest educational institution in Lynchburg now. Because Lynchburg is this interesting little town in the middle of Virginia, and there's dozens of these little colleges. Maybe enrollment of 3,000-4,000, and Liberty was one of those. It was called something else when he bought it,
Yeah.
but it was a small little college. Some ridiculous size, this wide. And then what really made them mega was the online courses that.
Oh boy. And do they get to claim to be nonprofit somehow and not pay
I
taxes or something?
Yeah, I can't remember how they do it, but yeah, they're a non just like most even private colleges are not for profit
Technically, yeah.
technically because they're not making any money. All the money's going back into the organization,
There was
educational organization.
the a silly thing from the Onion was Harvard faces pressure to fire Confederate generals. The premise being, yeah, we hired Stonewall Jackson and Nathan Bedford Forrest, but they're doing their own thing and completely satirizing the whole like we're not really supporting Trump and conservative Christian stuff. Uh, Putting it into high relief by making it the actual generals. There were some laugh out loud things in this. That was one of the people defending Nathan Bedford Forrest. Okay, so yeah, he's still starting the Klan
You
while he's
did
here, but
realize he started the Klan, but
you do
uh,
realize, don't you? Still a hero to
he was the
some.
first American terrorist.
Yeah, they would do
I mean,
raids to terrorize people.
they rode through the night and they burned, with torches on their white satin or silk outfits. And if you see some of the original Klan outfits, they are scary looking.
That was their intent.
Right.
Uh,
They were supposed to be night terrors, and they thought they were dealing with primitive people anyway, right? They'd be spooked by this. Yeah,
I
that's the great Nate from Bedford Forest.
I mean, they talked about him a bit in the Ken Burns Civil War series.
Yeah.
They even interviewed his granddaughter, who was this proud Southern older lady, and she, or no, one of their interviewees had talked to her, so they didn't talk to her directly. They talked to a guy that talked to her, and they mentioned Lincoln in her presence, and she's like, "We don't talk about Mr. Lincoln too much around here." He's like, "They sure are still funny about that war all these years later.
Yeah.
They
Well,
ain't never gotten over it quite."
they bought
Uh,
into the lost cause.
oh,
So like the A&M, they're saying we never lose, we just run out of time. Right? That's their thing about
I
football
mean
games.
that's the
We didn't
whole
lose,
thing.
we just lost out of time or ran out of time. And it's kind of the same attitude among the Confederacy. We had a
Yeah,
just cause, we just couldn't. We just ran out of the material and money to be able to.
they kind of weighted Roe versus Wade out of the clock too. This is a lot of what we're dealing with. This is like a theme going on. Oh, by the way, speaking of Ken Burns, he has one on country music, American country
Oh,
music.
yes.
And a few years ago, I watched it in full, but I came across just a bit of it recently, and they were talking about how the Carter family, where June Carter Cash came from, the
Hmm.
singing family, were struggling and struggling, trying to tour and do little dates. But where they really took off was there was this guy that sold goat testes medicine and had a radio station with a big antenna.
Yep.
And they did a little mini version of the play you were in to explain who this guy was and how he promoted the Carters, because
Yep.
he would play
J.R.
those music
Brinkley.
tracks in between the diagnoses. And I went, oh, now I know what that is. I had
Yep.
no idea the first time I watched this documentary. Anyway, so it's buried in there in like episode 4 or something.
Yeah,
Like,
J.R. Brinkley, he made them big stars and a couple other country music people that you would, are now household names.
yeah, funny Provenance. That
Yeah.
guy actually gave us a gift from the music world that we wouldn't have heard otherwise.
Hmm.
uh, all to just keep his little empire running. Well, he was
Right.
good at it while he was good at it, but
Yeah.
you can't sustain that forever. Hopefully.
Well, it
The
catches up with you eventually. Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's something about
Because near the end of it, the people who had been dying from Brinkley's operations and from his operations, they eventually turned on him, but it took a while. I mean, uh, he'd been doing it since the 20s. And they didn't turn on him till around I think, what was the 34? Somewhere around there.
yeah.
I was in the play and I've already forgotten all the
Yeah, I know all the
specifics.
details. Well,
Yeah,
when you memorize it for a play, it's different from actually long-term memorizing it sometimes. I don't know.
right. And the play takes some liberties with some of the timeline. His son, which in the play remained a baby the whole time. By the time he was discredited, that boy was, between 12 and 15 years old.
Oh
So
boy. What a childhood he had, moving to
yeah,
Mexico and all that
yeah.
stuff.
And then I think he took his own life in 1970, if I remember.
Oh boy.
Well, it's no fun to be the son of a, discredited person, like infamous discredited person like
Yeah,
that.
I guess not. And the money's all gone and the
Yeah, right.
reputation's all
Money's
gone.
gone,
And
reputation's gone. Right.
I mean, I don't like waiting 15 years and counting for like some people to like have been loyal to Trump and then turn on him and wondering how ugly that might get. But it still hasn't really happened. There's definitely some moaning and pain about the Medicaid kind of not happening and the prices of everything going up and SNAP benefits disappearing and stuff, but it's
Well, I
really
think you
not a
could.
tipping point or anything.
Well, they got to be close to it if you have MTG and
Those are signs.
Candace Owens and Tucker
Tucker
Carlson
Carlson
just
and
came out and
even
said,
Alex Jones a little bit,
"Oh
not
yeah, well he said
100%.
we need we need the 25th Amendment his ass, is what he said. And Tucker Carlson said, I have to apologize for misleading everybody about this guy.
Yeah, that's quite a
So
thing.
they're
Even if you're
turning on him.
judging like how sincere is he, it's like he's still putting those words out,
Yeah.
and to everyone who listens to him, and that,
And the MTG saying this is not what we voted for. This is not America first. This is Trump first. So that is, that's a big deal.
That's a good slogan. Well, you can use that one. It's funny how this whole, the whole, I always keep saying that the projection thing they accuse what you, but this whole upside down universe has made me start genuinely thinking sentiments like, I want my country back.
Mhm.
I want it to go back to when it was better and things like that. Don't make me think that. That's a funny thing for me to be thinking. Or him saying we were such a laughing stock as a country. Now we're great. I'm like, but
No, it's the other
no.
way around.
Talk to some Europeans. We are a
Well, talk to
crazy,
the.
laughing, discredited laughing stock now.
Have you watched those Lego videos? But dude,
Yes.
they are laughing right in your face.
Oh, I just love how astute they are. Like right there. It's like, why didn't we have any Americans poking right there like that? Well, it's like sometimes it takes that outside view. And sometimes they're turning them around within 24 hours of something. And there's
Yeah.
the video, rap lyrics, everything, everything animated. I'm not quite sure what they're using to make all this stuff,
Well,
but
it's interesting because they claim that they are in Iran. I seriously question that. I know that there are children of the third generation of the elite in Iran that are in California.
I
They
heard,
support the Iranian regime, but they don't want to live there.
yeah,
They'd rather live in the
I
States.
heard a rumor-ish factoid that it might be expatriate Persians of some
Yeah,
kind.
right.
And they're
In
young and they're
California in
scrappy
particular.
and they still want to defend Iran, even though they don't want to live there under this regime. But
But they're
they
part
don't
of the
want
regime.
this big fathead to be the one that does these things. I don't
Watch
know.
the CNN International interview with them, and they claim that they live in, and so there's no way to verify that. You have to take them at their word. They won't tell you their names or.
Nor should they.
So
It'd be
yeah,
very
so
dangerous for
it's
them to do that.
yeah. So what's it called? Something explosion is the name of
Yes.
their.
Mm,
I suspect now I read this, and this may be just rumor, but I read that Arachi, a lot of his, that's the foreign minister of he has a relative, I mean nephew or niece living in the LA area, and they're very um, America culturally literate, and they're technologically literate, and they're modern device literate, and they are doing things that are running rings around what the White House is doing in terms
hmm
of the way they're able to return stuff on Instagram and TikTok and stuff like that. And not that this is separate from the Legos people, but um, if that's true, if that's happening with people who are in the regime, it wouldn't be that too big of a leap to say maybe these Lego people are because when you listen to it, it sounds. I mean, they've got the rapper sounds legit. The raps are perfect.
hmm
Really, could they do that in? Could they do that in? I don't know. Maybe they could. Maybe I'm not giving them enough credit, but it just seems to me that if you're living in a Western country, you'd be much more with your finger on that pulse than
Yeah.
if you're living in Iran.
I mean, it's you would think so. I mean, a lot of these, like AI tools to soup things up are website based. So if you can get it, but in Iran, do you have a stable, fast internet connection all the time?
Only if you're
Mm,
in a certain elite.
yeah.
No, I guess they could be, you know, the. It's funny. Virginia and I were just watching the film Seed of the Sacred Fig, and
Hmm.
it was a movie basically about you. Do you remember the woman, the Kurdish woman who died in police custody after the hijab police said, "You're not
Ye-
wearing your hijab right, and you're coming with us." And they claim she died of a stroke when
Uh-huh.
she did not die of a stroke. She was beaten to death, basically. Well, this movie was about that whole event, and it was kind of realistic and kind of allegorical at the same. Really good movie, by the way. Um, because the last final chase scene between the enforcer investigator and his family, who are women, mother and two daughters who, you know, don't want to put up with the BS anymore. They go back to his boyhood home, which is right by an ancient ruin. And the chase scene is in that ancient ruin, an ancient Persian ruin.
Hmm.
And it's really interesting because, well, anybody who wants to see that, I won't spoil the ending because it's really kind of interesting to me. He gets a very interesting, well, it ends in a very interesting way, and it's very allegorical.
Okay.
But I was just reminded of that because that was definitely told from Iranian cultural reference, not from a Western reference.
Right.
And
Not
it
a
was set in
Western's idea
Tehran.
of what Iranian.
No, it was clearly an Iranian filmmaker, but of course he had to make it had French and European co-production all over it because he couldn't get it
You
done.
have to.
Right. So, but this Lego stuff, first of all, it's how Lego isn't saying, "Hey, stop using our stuff."
Yeah, I thought that was fascinating too, because they certainly like to defend their intellectual property as the Lego Corporation pretty strictly, but they're going, yeah,
Well, YouTube did take it down, and maybe Lego told them, "Hey, they're using our Lego crap. You without our permission, you can't." Because those are the two things that will get you off of YouTube quickly is copyright infringement and violence, and they kind of
yeah,
do both in there. Like copyright infringement for sure, but it's a computerized stop motion version of Lego movie type stuff.
yeah,
It's definitely CGI'd, and of course the violence, you know, all the blowing up and stuff.
it's toys.
They're toys.
Yeah, it's funny.
So
I don't quite know how these are propagating. I'm looking at alternate indie media podcasters going, found another Lego clip, y'all, and then showing it to me. I'm not viewing it directly in YouTube at all. Someone
no,
saying,
they're
"Here,
not
take a
allowed
look at
to.
this."
They're not allowed to put them on YouTube anymore. So they're clearly being distributed through things like Instagram, TikTok, that
Social
sort of thing.
media, yeah, something else
It
is
has to be,
yeah,
and it's the whatever the you know, Instagram was kind of the millennial slash generation just below that,
yeah.
and now TikTok is Z and generation below that. Mm. Yeah, so in my wheelhouse, but I am culturally interested, so I like to keep up on what the kids are saying,
Right.
how they're how they're sharing stuff, and it seems to be through those platforms. And Yahoo, yeah, or YouTube. I keep saying Yahoo. YouTube is that shows you how old I am. Nobody
Yeah.
uses Yahoo anymore. Um, but YouTube is um, putting kibosh on them. They're not allowed to put it on their channel anymore, and that's. I think part
Mm,
of it is the copyright infringement, and the other thing. I heard someone say it was because of the violence, but I said, well, it's cartoon violence. You're not showing actual people dying,
no.
and so I think it's more likely, given that they're an evil corporation. they're probably it has to do with corporate rights.
Yeah, or just
That's what
it's
I
in our
think.
corporate interest to not have this there so that we
Exactly.
don't take flack from the places we have to worry about.
Right. And if they
Uh,
blame it on Lego, and that's a Danish company, right?
yes.
Let's blame it on them.
Aha! Greenland. I know it all makes sense. I don't know. Your mic is sort of popping in and out a little bit,
Oh,
and we've
are
actually been
you hearing
talking
it on
for
your end?
no. It's done it a little bit within the last 2 minutes.
Oh,
So I'm thinking
my
maybe
battery's
this has
all
gone
good.
very well. Let's wrap it up. We can always do another
Okay.
one now that
All
we've
right.
worked out how to do it.
All right.
I think I think that's fine. It's always good to talk to you. I will try
Oh
and
yeah.
get this online onto YouTube. It
With
should
both our
just be,
voices and both our images. That's
yeah.
nice.
I think I've managed to get us both into equally sized rectangles that are the same height on the screen. That was the
Mm-hmm.
main thing I really wanted to fix. Still has the same weird Starfield background that I made. In fact, there's this big gap in the middle between us, and I don't, or is it this way?
Oh,
I don't know.
I'm not seeing that. So
No,
in
we
my
can't
feed,
see,
it's
but
just your image and my image.
right. So it's there. I don't know why I keep it there, but I can't figure out a ratio of sized rectangles to like I don't know.
Make it work. Yeah.
Make it work.
Oh.
So I'm just going. Then you can put extra graphics in the middle. I don't know what it is. Okay, so it's this direction. Anyway.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know. It's
I
anyway, it
guess I'll
doesn't
see it when
matter.
I see
I'll
it.
see you
Yeah.
next time. Thanks for
Okay.
talking. Signing out. Tom and Rob chatting once again. Whee! Bye,
Everybody.
Tom.